Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. This is Loading Snacks Weekly. I'm joined by the fellows known as Jokes
Yo,
and Coop.
Yo, what's up?
You know, same old gravity.
Same old gravity.
Yeah, getting no higher, sir. Same old gravity. So, uh, this week we're gonna talk about a couple things. We're gonna talk about some movie related MCU news, and we're gonna talk about PlayStation copying Nintendo and begin. So Coop
Yo,
Coopington.
that's what they
Uh
call me.
well, that's what I call you, and I bet you I can make it stick, sir. I do not challenge me. So talk to me, bro. What's going on in the world of McU movies?
Yeah.
Good old McU.
As you know, there's been tons of rumors, and then we finally got the confirmation that Disney has bought back the rights to their Marvel characters from Fox.
That, sir, is not finalized.
It's not finalized.
Absolutely not, sir. I mean,
Okay.
more than likely it's finalized, but that is not finalized, sir. It'll probably be like another year before it's like all said and done and all parties involved, governments involved will actually make that so. But as it stands, as far as Fox is concerned and as far as Disney is concerned, done deal.
Yeah.
And that's almost good enough for me.
yeah. There's a light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah. Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney, which is a crazy title, the CEO of Disney.
I don't think that's crazy. You mean that's crazy to have? Like,
yeah, like that's a crazy title to have. Like, like what do you do? I'm the CEO. Like, that's.
I don't think people ask him what he does.
I
Well,
know.
I know.
I think people who know what he does.
Yeah, it's an incredible title to have. Then I guess.
Sure.
But
Sure.
he was saying that the X-Men franchise will go to Kevin Feige, who is the president of Marvel Studios, putting that franchise in his hands. And
is that what he said?
Actually, yes, it is what he said. And he said that there shouldn't be two Marvels.
I ain't see that he said that specifically, but I see that it pretty much sounded like that's what he said. I mean, continue, and we will dig into this. Continue, sir.
He was asked by a reporter what was going to happen with the Fox franchise, and he said that
right.
He said that he was going to take the X-Men franchise and give it to Kevin Feige, and they asked him what about Deadpool, and he was like, he has a lot of ideas. I don't want to say anything. He's like, I'm not saying that's one of his ideas, but there's a lot of ideas that he has that, to make this happen. And pretty much saying that there shouldn't be two Marvels, really. Just, bring it on home, I guess.
Yes, I mean, that's a little more of what he actually said. He didn't actually say specifically that he was putting it in Feige's hands. What he said was that there shouldn't be two separate Marvels. And so basically people take it to say, all right, well, then Feige is the one who runs the MCU, meaning that clearly, assuming the X-Men are coming over into the MCU, because we don't really know that that's happening, but why wouldn't that be what happens? That would mean that it would have to be Feige. And then he responded to the Deadpool thing and was like, Feige has some ideas, but I don't know if that's exactly what he's going to do with it. Essentially confirming that they had already had that discussion. You know what I'm saying? More or less. So it's like he said it without saying it. Like he didn't come out and directly say, oh, no, yeah, the X-Men. Oh, yeah, Feige got that. Like he didn't actually come out technically and say that that's what it was. But he more or less said it without saying it.
Yeah.
My question is, why'd you bring this up?
Because we've always had discussions about, what would happen if if they were able to reboot the franchise, or should we reboot the franchise? Do we just keep it going and take it somewhere else if the possibility was there? So, um, it seems like a good step to take after everything that's going on, after the Avengers and everything, to see what happens next. But just saying, can we? Do you think it needs to be rebooted, or do you think it needs to be just passed over?
Me specifically, or are you asking just the?
Well,
Are you asking?
yeah, you guys.
I mean, jokes. I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Cool. So here's I kind of at this point, if they're going to introduce probably to do the reboot, man, I would like to see Hugh Jackman at least show up as a cameo. I mean, we all want to see him at least once show up in the MCU, whether it's him punching somebody in the face, walking off screen, or just dropping a FU or something, just to have him walk on screen and do something. But I think, I mean, continuity wise, I know a lot of people get confused the way how X-Men is set up and everything. So maybe starting with the clean slate of them in the MCU, probably not necessarily like an intro type of movie, but since we kind of know the basic characters already, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, all of them, you could just start it out with them just being there already. Because if you try to tell a whole nother backstory on characters, I mean, the only thing they could do is if they did that, maybe it wouldn't necessarily get circled around Wolverine as being like the front runner, the main leader per se of the X-Men. I'm open. I'm pretty sure those at Marvel Studios can do something, whether they decided to reboot it or if they decided to take who's currently in role right now. I know they can do something amazing, but I don't know.
What do you want to see happen, Coop?
I want to see a complete reboot, honestly, and maybe not necessarily a reboot as in the story, but just like not an origin story. We know who the X-Men are. We know what they're capable of and everything. Let's just see them in action, mixed in with whatever it is we have going on in the Avengers realm. You know, because it's almost like, when they did Spider-Man Homecoming, there's no reason to do an origin story. We knew who Spider-Man was after all this time showing it over and over again. Why not kind of just throw them in there and then develop a story within that of their own?
I mean, yeah, one of the things that they managed to do really well was that they used Civil War as Black Panther's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And most people didn't even really realize it. And they kind of did that with Spider-Man too. They just kind of allowed that few minutes to kind of give you the backstory you had to have in order to do it. I think the thing that's more difficult about this is that you have mutants that are already in the Avengers. You've already had them show up. So it's all in how you treat Scarlet Witch at this point. She's really, in my opinion, the key to how they introduce the X-Men into the MCU. And to be real with you, I don't know that we need the X-Men, to be for real. I'm honestly not that interested in seeing the X-Men brought into the MCU. I am more interested, like, one of the things that is so interesting about the MCU is that, for all intents and purposes, the Avengers were obscure. Like, nobody really gave a shit about Iron Man. I mean, not to say it like that, but that's really what it was. Like, nobody really cared about Iron Man or Captain America. Nobody cared about Thor. Like, those characters are staples, but their popularity was like next to nothing, technically. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the time when you decide we're gonna do an Iron Man movie, it was kind of like, you gonna do a what? Why? Like, why are you doing an Iron Man movie? You know what I'm saying? Of all the heroes that you have access to and whatever, right? And it was really because they didn't have access to anybody else. They didn't have access to do the X-Men. I think that Marvel has such a rich backlog of characters that are interesting. Like, look at what they're doing with Cloak and Dagger, right? You look at what they've done with the Avengers, and really the only hiccup with the Avengers is how they treated Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because technically they were characters that could be used in either universe, but they couldn't say that they were mutants.
Right.
But there's recently been some bio information that was updated for Scarlet Witch that says that the stone that gave her powers may have done something to her mind to give her powers, or may have opened a latent ability within her, hinting that they may go down this path of, no, she always had this in her. Like, maybe the stone actually activated her X gene or something like that, right? Then there is also the possibility of doing a House of M and basically saying, like, everything that we've seen so far with the Avengers was all fake. Like, it was all in Scarlet Witch's head. It was something that she set up, made up, whatever. You could use the introduction of the Skrulls via Captain Marvel to say, okay, the reason why the Skrulls are so interested in what's going on this planet is because they knew that there was some kind of a latent thing that was going on the planet, and they were interested in being able to take over or get a hold of those abilities or whatever it is. I think there's a much higher likelihood that we see the Fantastic Four show up before we see X-Men show up, and I think it would be much smarter to lean on the X gene being a thing and lean on the fact that anybody can be a mutant, and start to try to pull in or tell stories about mutants who are people who may have been in the X-Men or could have been in the X-Men, but maybe aren't. You know what I mean? Because the X-Men now is so different from what it was when we first started telling those stories. And every time we do the X-Men, we always try to go back to the original characters that was there. It's somewhere between that original set and the early 90s set that everybody knew from the cartoon. And the X-Men has had so many people, so many different across. I mean, you got to remember that, one, we don't have to touch X-Men at all. There's Excalibur, there's X-Force, which has already been touched on with Deadpool. So to me, it's like, if you're going to go down that route, you find a way to connect those things. Maybe Deadpool is the tie-in, you know what I mean, or whatever. And you say that these characters have these abilities because of the X gene, and you use that, and you kick it off with X-Force instead of trying to go to the X-Men again and revisit characters we've already seen and redo their powers again or whatever. Like, I just feel like I'd much rather see new characters with new abilities that the explanation is simply that they have these powers. You know what I mean? They could lean into what's already happening with the Gifted, which, by the way, starts over again on Tuesday. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot they could do with it. I think it'll be in good hands with Feige. I don't think he's going to do anything close to what we're expecting. I think it's going to be super left field. I'm not expecting him to just be like, oh, all right, well, yeah, we're going to bring the X-Men. Yes, they have control over the franchise. Yes, they have the rights to do the movies. All they really need is to be able to say the word mutant. That's it. They don't need, I don't want to see a young Professor X. I don't want to see an old Professor X. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind them talking about other characters or whatever, but I really think it would make more sense to bring in some underground mutants, the Morlocks, or, just, again, they could do Excalibur, you know what I mean? And it could be based outside of the US, and that could be a reason why, or something like that. Like, there's any other number of ways they could do it, but I don't think it's necessary for them to do the X-Men. And I'm almost at the point where I would rather they didn't, because I feel like I would like it less if they did that and they messed that up. Like, I don't need to see Hugh Jackman be Wolverine again. We had enough of that. Like, we did it. Yay, it worked. I don't need Hugh Jackman in the MCU, because all the rest of the characters that we've grown to love in the MCU are too old, and they're all going away anyway. But Fantastic Four is like prime for doing the more galactic stuff that they're saying the next phase is going to be. And I think if you're going to do another phase, we're going into what, phase 4?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I don't think we see X-Men until the end of phase 4, beginning of phase 5. That's what I'm thinking. and maybe not X-Men, but I think we'll start to hear mention of mutants. We might get a little back, talk in the background somewhere or whatever. They could say that whatever it is they do that undoes the snapping and changes it and does something.
True.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of ways that it could go. I'm just not super, honestly, I'm not super interested in seeing the X-Men again. Like I'm good. I'm good.
Is it because the Gifted is like doing a good job with it already?
I mean, it's just, I mean, in the Gifted, you have mutants, but they're people who have been members of the X-Men or whatever, like in history, but it's not the X-Men has been done to death. Whether it's been done right or not is kind of beside the point. You know what I mean? It's just like those characters. Like I've had enough Jean Grey. We've had more than one. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like Hugh Jackman has done what he needed to do with Wolverine. That character is established. We know who he is, what he does, what his abilities are, whatever. There's nothing left to tell, in my opinion. Like once you did all the other stuff they did, and then you do Old Man Logan, like what story is there really left to tell that we need Wolverine for? Why do we need Wolverine? Right. I can't stand Cyclops, so let's not. You know what I mean? And Storm is not the only black person who has power, so stop it. Like I'm past it. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to try to make Storm into an icon. Like I'd love to see Iceman, like for real. Like we got X2 and that was it, and it was kind of fluke. Like I dug it, but again, there are so many mutants. So many people who have been a part of the X-Men at some point. I don't think we need to have that team. I think in order to do it and do it the right way, it almost needs to be done the way Avengers was, where you have these individual stories, these individual movies about these individual characters, and maybe they end up coming together as a team. You know what I mean? But I'm almost nervous about the idea of them trying to do a team movie and introduce multiple characters all at once. What they've done so well, and that has worked so well for the MCU as it exists, is that we've gotten the opportunity to have all of these characters get introduced to us individually for the most part. Yeah. And then you see them come together because there's some major reason for them to come together. If you were to do the X-Men and you just start out like, oh, here's the X-Men, we have a team, whatever, who are they fighting? What are they doing? Are we bringing back Sentinels? Are we really going that route again? Like, what's the purpose? So, yeah, I'm not. Him being in control, Feige being in control of what happens as far as them coming into the MCU, I think is a good thing. I think if they try to do the X-Men, it's going to be wrong. That's what I think. Like, might work, but I think it'll be wrong. Would you disagree?
Slightly. I mean, only because the success that has always that they have produced in the past. So I don't, I have faith in it if it was to go that route.
Right, but what has been the catalyst for that success? That success has been based on doing individual, like that success is based on them doing not what the DCEU is doing, which is trying to have an ensemble film in the beginning.
Yeah.
And these are characters that people already know. It's not like you need to give us an origin story for Batman and an origin story for Superman. And you know what I mean? Like, you don't even need to do that. And even still, you try to do an ensemble and nobody cares because there's no backstory for anybody to lean on. Like people, even if you don't like Iron Man, you like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Like, I'm not an Iron Man fan in the comic. I care less about Iron Man in the comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like, truth be told, I think Iron Man's whack. You know what I'm saying? But I like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in the MCU being the prick that is Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? And I like the way that specifically is balanced against Chris Evans playing Captain America, Steve Rogers, his backstory. Like, that works for me. Against Thor, fish out of water, God, abilities, power, magic, and science are the same thing. You know what I mean? All of those elements kind of coming together and giving us a reason for it to matter in Loki or in Thanos or whatever it is, like that to me is why the franchise is successful. It's because they didn't try to overdo it all at once.
Yeah,
what I don't want is for them to get excited. Oh snap, we got the X-Men, we got everybody, and just start shoving shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me is how the MCU goes from being what it is, as successful as it is, as good as it is, to being like dog pile. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It just don't
I guess
stuff
I
out.
could see the if you do think about the X Men, you're talking about a group in some way, shape, or form, and to introduce that group ahead of time is almost going backwards as far as like doing the Avengers first and
Right.
then doing this, and this, and this. So
Right.
yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that aspect of it.
What do you think, Jokes? You want to see the X-Men, huh?
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I mean, there's certain, just like you said, like there's different teams out there we can do. Like just like you said, House of M. There's different stories out there that revolve around the X-Men that I would like to actually see, and like say that could be a good catalyst. Which we know for Avengers 4, somewhere somehow, time is going to be involved in it somewhere whatsoever,
I would hope so.
and maybe like say between the time thing and the undoing of the snap, that somehow introduces the X-Men, and maybe it's not a complete original team. Maybe it's just like Deadpool shows up, Cable shows up, and then maybe like say Storm shows up and somehow she knows Black Panther or something that ties like some of them into others.
Well, they better not do that. They
You
better
know
not.
that's somehow that's going to end up being somewhere in the books. But like you said, it could be like a phase 5, closer to whatever it is that they're
You just got to
doing.
consider that, like, if they're gonna tie Deadpool into it, right? I would be interested in seeing a movie that focuses on Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Like, I think she's dope in the movie. She gets very little screen time. Still, she's awesome. You know what I mean? And so, like, why can't we have a story that revolves around that? When they're talking about doing stuff like New Mutants and things like that, like there are other ways to not only introduce mutants but to introduce other characters that could eventually become an X-Men team. You know what I mean? Led by someone. But again, you have a team already in X-Force, which has already been introduced. And if you're not going to undo what's already been done in Deadpool, which they basically have said they're not going to, then that means those things and those characters already exist. So that means Colossus is a thing. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So like the X-Mansion is a thing. So that means you have to tie, if you're not going to change what happened in Deadpool and undo any of that, that means that introducing Deadpool into the MCU means that all of that other stuff that happened with him is canon, which means the mutants are there. And they exist. Whether it was something that could be seen or not, again, House of M could be that it's tied to Scarlet Witch and something that she did that made it so that these characters can't see it. Whatever. Could be that they say that it was a separate universe or something like that, and the universes collide because of the gauntlet or something like that. You know what I mean? Like there's any number of ways they could do it. But I mean, again, if they're not going to change Deadpool and what's already happened with him, then clearly those characters exist. So we don't necessarily need to see X-Men into, like, I really don't want to see an X-Men movie. Like I'm good with that. Like I don't want to see them try to touch another X-Men story like Age of Apocalypse or Days of Future Past or whatever. I think that they can do a lot more besides that in terms of introducing somebody else young. I mean, like you got to think of, like, characters like, I don't know, a Kamala Khan, or like there are a lot of characters out there that they could touch on and use as a catalyst to talk about mutants and say that they exist and show what they go through and all that kind of stuff without actually having to do X-Men again. And like, I don't know, man. Like I've just gotten to the point where I decided that like the X-Men aren't really that important anymore. There was a time when they were super important. I just don't think they're that important anymore. I don't, Okay. I mean, you want to see a Jubilee movie? That joint might be dope, bruh.
Could be,
Hey,
but
who knows, right?
That joint might be dope, dog. Don't sleep. You know what I'm saying? Don't sleep. Could be them fireworks, bruh.
Comes
That
out 4th
might
of
be,
July.
and that could be the reason why you bring Wolverine back. You know what I'm saying? And they was like little best friends or something.
Yeah.
It could happen. I'm just saying. I don't know, bruh. I don't know. I'm excited about the prospect. You know what I mean? And the idea that they could tie it all together.
Mm.
I just don't know if the X-Men is what we need.
Mm.
Specifically. Like the most I want to hear is like, yep, this really powerful dude named Magneto is Scarlet Witch's father, and Quicksilver's still alive. Like that whole joint was fake. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I'm good. Like I'm good with that. I really am. I'm good with that. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
then you can lean into like what's happening on the Gifted and be like, yep, Polaris is another one of his kids. She's got this magnetism power that actually exists, and you can maybe tie that show into the MCU where you technically can't do that now.
right.
You know, or truthfully, just start introducing them in their own shows. Give them their Netflix joints. You know what I mean? Give them something that's in there. Let them have something that ties into the Defenders or to Daredevil season 3 or to, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And start to just kind of trickle it in. And then you can start to, you know, that's because right now they act like the whole Inhumans thing didn't even happen, which is basically how they were acting about the mutants.
What are Inhumans?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So like you know, but we introducing aliens and some more stuff now with the Kree, like seriously, and the Skrulls, like seriously. So obviously the galactic thing is gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
It just is. And that to me it will make more sense if they, if nothing else, try to tie in the Fantastic Four first.
I really want to see Galactus. I mean, we got.
Do you though? Do you really want to see Galactus?
I do. Like just from, it's just that would probably be like an Avengers type movie. Like that's going to be like this epic galactic battle to have him show up. Like
it better be a galactic battle. His name is Galactus.
I mean, he could just
on the streets,
just come to Earth again and just try to take his whole hand and just crush the Earth. I mean,
yeah, I mean, sure. Sure. I really like right now for what's happening with the MCU. I think the most important and the best thing they could do outside of whatever they do with Guardians of the Galaxy and then really kind of reaching with some of the more far off again in galactic stuff they they really lean into the Skrulls. Like lean into that secret invasion joint. Cause that
is gonna set some stuff off.
Yeah.
That, bruh, is gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so amped for that. Anyway, look, let's move on because we need to talk about Sony and this little teeny tiny PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
So Sony announced the PlayStation Classic, okay, which is not unlike the NES Classic or the SNES Classic. Let's not pretend that like Sega's not doing a Mega Drive and a Genesis Mini, because they are, which I think just got pushed back to next year. Or act like Atari doesn't have like 12 of these or something like that. Like this is not a brand new concept.
Right.
However, the PlayStation Classic. So apparently, though pre-orders have been up for almost a week, they are not selling out. Like
not at all.
The comparison to like the NES and the SNES is like it's not even close. And in my opinion, a lot of that is based on the fact that one is priced stupid high at $100. But I mean, cause seriously, like you could probably get a used PlayStation 4 for 200.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's half the price of a used PS4, you know. But I think the other thing is they've only revealed 5 of the games out of 20. And the 5 they announced really ain't.
Don't really, not technically the show forth that you, I mean, Final Fantasy VII, yeah, but then when you're releasing it everywhere else at the same time that's going to come out, it's kind of like, if there was, if Final Fantasy VII wasn't dropping anywhere else, and that was like the main one that you had on there, boom. But outside of that, everything else is kind of like meh.
So let me just real quick, let me state the 5 games that have been announced. Okay, so you already said Final Fantasy VII, right? There's Tekken 3, which Coop is the most excited about.
Yes, he is.
Which might be the best joint they've announced, to be honest. There's Wild Arms, which I'm a fan of. Like, I really enjoyed that game when it came out. Jumping Flash, which I don't think the majority of people care about at all. And Ridge Racer Type 4. No. So here's what I think part of the issue is. If you are going to announce this, announce that there will be 20 games, and you choose 5 to lead off with, and of the 5, you might be excited about 2, and this is what you've chosen to lead off with to say, yo, pre-orders are live, you don't want to miss this, go and get it. I am super nervous about what the rest of these games are going to be. Right? Like, how good, like, because to me, if you're going to do this to try to get people to pre-order it, you want to lead off with, like, these are the hottest joints we got. You know what I mean? Like, you want to lead with the heavy hitters. Final Fantasy VII is a heavy hitter, no doubt. Like, it's niche, but it's a heavy hitter. Wild Arms, Ridge Racer 4, Jumping Flash, are you serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, Tekken 3 is probably the other hottest game that's on there, and easily the best known title that's on there, probably besides Final Fantasy VII, will be Tekken 3. So the question is, what are the rest of these games? And are the rest of these games going to be weaker than what they've bothered to announce already? And it either to me means that they have not finished curating this list. Because otherwise, why didn't you just tell us what all of it is? Like, I don't even understand why you would make this announcement and say, I mean, the joint comes out December 3rd. It's like two months. I mean, it's 3 months, but it's like 2 months. So, so to me, like, I'm looking at this and going, oh, this joint's going to be weak. The lineup is going to be weak. Here's the other thing. The way that 8-bit and 16-bit games look holds up and has held up way better than like early 3D games. Like, they just don't look good. And the other thing I think is an issue is it's coming with the original PlayStation controller, no DualShock. And there are games that were released on the PS1, PlayStation 1, that the DualShock was required for, or at least was great assistance in, and people don't want to play these games without a DualShock.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. You're now in charge of curating the remaining 15 games. Okay? What needs to be on this system to make you want to buy it? Coop, what you got?
I'm gonna go off strong and hit Twisted Metal 2.
Okay, that's on my list too. Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay.
Twisted Metal 2 was a very, very huge game for the PlayStation, and I think,
was it a huge game for you, sir?
It was, and
Okay.
I mean, and obviously, if you're going for PlayStation 1, you're going for nostalgic, purposes of playing the game, and I think for me personally, Twisted Metal 2 is up there.
Okay.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you why it's not gonna happen.
It's
because the issue with so many of these old games is the licensing. That's why those games haven't been re-released. Like, there's a couple of HD versions or whatever. Like, Tony Hawk's was re-released for like Xbox Live Arcade. The issue is that a lot of what makes those games so great is the music. And the licenses for that is all dead. Meaning that they have to go back and renegotiate the contracts to get the licenses for all of that music that was in there, or they got to negotiate contracts to get all new music. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that in order to have it. Not just the contracts for the music, but the contracts for the people. Because it wasn't just Tony Hawk in it. Like, you had all these other skaters that were in there.
Burn Quest, Ryan Nyquist. Oh God, that list goes forever.
That means you got to go back and you got to negotiate with them because you want to resell it. You know what I mean? And you got to pay these people again.
Yeah.
So again, do I agree that it would be something that should be on it? Yeah. That's not happening.
I'm sure.
I'm positive that's not happening. What else you got?
Driver.
Jesus Christ. Did you like cheat off of my list, Coop?
Nah.
No.
Driver's clean.
I can tell you exactly what I did, actually.
It's not your own list.
He went and looked at a list. He faking. I'm gonna tell you what needs to be on this joint. Siphon filter needs to be on here.
Yep, I did say that.
Siphon filter has to be on it because it's classic. That's PlayStation right there.
Yeah.
Right.
That is PlayStation.
That is PlayStation. And you know what else? Nothing. That's it.
No, you're right. Because then that's the thing.
That's it.
But that's the
thing. Nothing,
and that's the truth. Like, because going through, like, literally, I couldn't think of probably more than 7 or 8 titles that are just, meaningful out there. Like, I have Tomb Raider on there just for the fact Tomb Raider kind of OG'd on the plate. Well, it did OG on the PlayStation.
Sure.
And it's just like there's just not that many titles out there. Just like you said, Twisted Metal, Tony Hawk, Driver.
Yeah.
Fighting joints. Battle Arena to Shinden, Tobal #1, maybe Airgeist, which Einhander, maybe, which y'all probably don't even know what that is. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, the problem is there's classic joints. Brave Fencer Musashi. There's classic joints like Bushido Blade needs to be on this joint. Period. They got to go to Square Enix and get them to okay it, but they already got Final Fantasy. They should be able to get Bushido Blade. They should be able to get Einhander. They should be able to get Airgeist. Like, but that's a lot of Square joints. You know what I'm saying? Brave Fencer is also a Square joint. But those are joints that made up a lot of what PlayStation had. Like, Tekken 3 is certainly a dope joint, but like Battle Arena to Shinden was a straight up classic. Third, 3D fighter. Early, same thing with Tobal #1 and Tobal #2 or whatever. Like, those are classics. But like PlayStation 1 ain't really like Crash is no point in touching Crash. Nope. Like, they've released all of them joints. That would be dumb for them to be on that. They're on the Switch. Like, it's portable. You can take it with you. So who cares if you can pick up this little PlayStation and take it with you somewhere or whatever? Like, it means nothing. The other thing about it is the games that they put on there, they need to be 2 players. They're giving you 2 controllers in there. So they should be 2-player games. So, like, I honestly am kind of drawing like a blank when it comes to like dope PlayStation games that really should be on there that also actually could be on there. I don't, there are 5 or 6 that are almost all the same kind of thing. Like, they're fighting games. You know what I'm saying? Tobal to Shinden, Airgeist, all fighters. Tekken, fighter. You know what I'm saying? You do Tekken 1, 2, and 3. What do? You know what I mean? Like, that's dumb. That's not a way you want to round out.
That's the cop out. Just bring the multiple Tekken 1, 2, and 3. We're gonna bring Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. Chronicles. Like, we just going out like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's some games like Loaded. Loaded's cool. Y'all probably don't even know what it is.
I don't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a 2-player top down. I mean, it's kind of like Smash TV.
Yeah. Okay.
But, it was cool. It's not that deep, though. Like, what else is on your list? What else did you steal, Coop?
Did I steal? Papa the Rapper. That was my
Papa the Rapper. I know who Power Rapper the Rapper is. I don't know Papa the Rapper, but
Power Rapper the Rapper.
So do you do Power Rapper the Rapper and Unjammer Lammy?
Yes.
You do both of those?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, not that they didn't just re-release Power Rapper the Rapper in a new version for PlayStation 4. But okay, I mean, I could see that. What else?
Metal Gear Solid.
Important.
Yeah.
Important.
They probably should have started. That should have been the top 5 games they announced, honestly.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not there. So I don't know if that means that there's an issue with something going on with Konami, or you know what I mean. It's just like, or they haven't negotiated it. You know what I mean? Like going back to repay the voice actors or something. Like I don't know, dude. Like I don't know. What else? What do you got, Chris? What do you got, Jokes?
I mean, other than like what he had on there, just like I said, it's just really nothing. The only other one that I had that's kind of different, that's out of the box, it wasn't really like necessarily a staple for PlayStation, but Mega Man. Now, of course,
what Legends
X4, because that really was the first one that they bought over to say like the PlayStation. Beforehand,
didn't they just do
the
Mega Man X collection?
They did the X collection. It's the same thing. Like a lot of those ones that could potentially be there have these HD versions, or they went to the marketplace, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever it is. Like they're there, like they're here. I mean, other than just for the sake of maybe, oh hey, I'm gonna buy this for a collection. Like honestly, that would be the only reason why I would have it. Now I got my old PlayStation. Like literally, I could go upstairs right now, pull it out of this box, and hook it up if I want to. My games are all in there as well too.
Yeah, but it's not HDMI. It's not the same thing. Talked about this. Now I
know it's gonna look bad. I would have been okay if I still had one of my my big box TVs, but of course that don't finally kick the bucket.
Yeah, why would you have that?
Hey, because I had like my PlayStation, my N64, like I just had those hooked up to it, never touched them. Just it was solely there for that purpose. But one day I went to go play the N64, and it decided it just didn't want to turn on. So yeah, all that stuff kind of got put in the box.
It's kind of sad.
You know what? I'm gonna be real with you. I'm really gonna be looking to see what they do, because right now I think the PlayStation Classic is a dud.
I completely agree with you. I would say that this is not a bad idea, honestly, but it's just the timing of it is completely wrong.
Yeah, it would have been a good idea 2 years ago.
Yeah, and like because half of these games that you have that you could release, or like if you think about, even if you want to release Resident Evil 2, like there's already a Resident Evil 2 out. You know,
there's a new one getting ready to come out. Like the remake is getting ready to come out. Like why would you do that?
Yeah, like, and just like you said, like you can get all the crashes everywhere now. So why even do that now? You do the same thing. You said Final Fantasy 7.
Crash Bandicoot is a well-known PlayStation franchise that is now available to play on the Xbox and on the Switch.
Yeah.
Why?
Even
like,
if you want, even
Spyro about to be the same way.
Yeah. Even if you wanted to do Tomb Raider, it just came out. So like, why would you even? It's just not a good time for this to happen.
The new Tomb Raider game just came out, but who wants to play Tomb Raider 1?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Those games just did not hold up as well. Like right now, if you think about it, like the renaissance that's happening in games and in game development, even especially on like the indie side, those developers are trying to mimic what the SNES and the NES did. They're trying to mimic 8-bit and 16-bit games and their graphics and bring those up to HD, and that gameplay still holds up and those graphics still hold up. Nobody is going back and trying to recreate early 3D graphics. Like nobody's doing that. Like, and honestly, like the N64 graphics to me personally held up better, depending on who made the games, than the PlayStation's graphics did. You know, like Mario 64 personally holds up, but it's been re-released multiple times. So I mean, personally, I think the PlayStation Classic is a bad idea, and I really think it's gonna be a waste of money. I think it's dope, you know, the little small miniature one or whatever. I think the box looks dope. I think it's cool that it's HDMI. So I think there's that, you know, to look forward to, you know, with the games that get, you know, that end up on it, you know. But again, there are other ways to emulate them if you wanted to. You know, $100. I'm just having a hard time seeing that it's worth it, and I'm really, really interested in what they're going to add to this lineup to see if it ends up being worth it. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like the people who have already pre-ordered have pre-ordered simply not even for nostalgia purposes, but for like the collector purposes. Like, they have the NES and they have the SNES, and they want the PlayStation to go next to it with the mini consoles or whatever. Like, it's almost like they're just paying for a display piece more than anything else. Is how I feel about it.
Honest truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm super concerned about what that is. But here's what I need, because we've talked long enough. And you know what I need to do? I need to play some more Spider-Man. So and I'm gonna do that. But I need for all of you who are watching to do me a favor and drop in the comments below what you think needs to be on the PlayStation Classic in order for it to be worth $100 and for you to pick it up. What's going to make it worth pre-ordering? And why do you think they haven't given us more than just the first 5 games that they gave us? I also want to know how you guys feel about this whole Kevin Feige, MCU, X-Men. What do you guys want to see happen? What do you think is going to happen? I'd love to see some predictions. I'll be looking for them because I would love to come back and talk about them on the next go-round. So, with that, we're going to get ready to shut the show down. But before I do that, the other favor I need from you all is to like, share, and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it when you do that. Make sure you hit the ding-a-ling bell, because that way you get notified every time we drop a new video. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Loading Snacks, Instagram at Loading Snacks. Coop, do me a favor. Yes, tell everybody where they can go if they want to follow you on social media.
Well, you can find me at Coop's Concessions on Instagram. You can also find me on Coop's Concessions on Twitter. Everything that I have going on right now is pretty much under Coop's Concessions.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Jokes. What about you, sir?
Mine's pretty easy. New Joker 89, pretty much across the board. Instagram, Twitter. The only exception on Facebook, New Joker's Adventures. Also, something new that I'm testing out, New Joker 89 on Facebook Gaming. I actually just set up a page for that.
New Joker 89 on Facebook Gaming. Like what? Wait, what?
No, it's just New Joker 89. You just go to Facebook Gaming. So instead of, you go to Facebook and you can search like New Joker 89 like normal, it's going to come up with a gaming profile. All it is. It's still New Joker 89, nothing different.
Got it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow me at MT Shells. That's MTSHELLZ. I post about life. That's it. And pop culture, kids. Yep, do that. Yeah, you should follow me. With that, we're gonna wrap this up, right, fellas?
Yep.
Okay, so we are out. Toodles and lose.